welcomes her guests into the studio to discuss excerpts of their book.
All right, good evening and welcome to Vigilant Broadcasting Radio Station. I am your host, Author Kimberly McLemore, and thank you for tuning in tonight to my show, The Author's Corner. Tonight we have not just two amazing guests in store for you, but three. But before I get started, let me take a couple of minutes and I'll tell you a little bit about myself and the purpose of this show. I am the author of How to Be a Success by Just Being You, Are You Living or Existing? The Pros and Cons of Balancing Life, and I'm the 2019 ILA Award Author of the Year for Social Awareness for my book, Memoir, Deception of the Heart, A Real Look into Domestic Violence. I am also the CEO of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, the host of the podcast, Your Resource for Success, on iHeartRadio and Spotify, the founder of Author Kimberly M. McLemore, LLC, co-owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. A platform is to provide new and existing authors an opportunity to promote their books, talk about their events, any speaking engagements, and, of course, we want to know where to purchase the book. So let me introduce to you my very first special guest author. Her name is Jennifer Bryant, and she is the author of Overcoming Personal Challenges to Achieve Professional Success. Jennifer Bryant is a best-selling author, award-winning certified career coach, consultant, and motivational speaker. She is the executive founder of Reaching Within, an empowerment journey. Jennifer obtained her coaching certification from Coaching Training Alliance, which is accredited by the International Coaching Federation. In addition to Reaching Within, an empowerment journey, she has over 20 years of demonstrated expertise, helping individuals and teams become high performers and more marketable through her leadership and certified career in resiliency life coaching focused on her 8-week Vision signature program. Her educational background and personal experiences have given her a broad base from which to help clients find their inner strength to create and revise their personal and professional journey in life to achieve results. As a 2-time domestic violence survivor, she moderates domestic violence programs to provide awareness on this issue. She has appeared in global magazines, inspiring others across the world. She regularly receives speaking invitations from federal agencies, academia, and community organizations, and has appeared on TV and podcasts. So without further ado, please all help me welcome my very special guest author, Jennifer Bryant. Good evening, Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer.
Good evening. I was muted for a moment.
I know you were.
Through your system.
It's okay. It's okay. How are you doing? And welcome to the Author's Corner.
Thank you, Kimberly, for this opportunity. I think the last we spoke was well over a year ago, correct?
Yeah, it has been. Well, actually, I think it was earlier this year when I did the Sip and Sign. You were there, so yeah. But it has been. It's been too many months. Put it that way. So,
yeah, I think it was like over a year since I've been on your show, your other show.
Right,
so
absolutely.
I am excited.
Yes, and a lot has happened in that year's time, and I am just excited about you being on the show tonight because it's just going to be great to hear about all the new things you got going on, and, of course, with the book, we're going to talk about that. But before we dive into all of those things, just tell my listeners a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll get into some of the other good stuff.
Okay, so I've been on this mission to inspire and empower. And I have a coaching concept which is called Ignite Your Fire by Transforming Your Vision. And vision is...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm here in the background. Okay.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry about that.
That's okay. And vision is an acronym in which I trademarked, and the V is representing visualizing your past, and the I represents initiating and taking action. The S is for strategy, strategizing. The other I is for integrating all your pieces in your process to make sure they align with your vision. The O is for opportunities, to go out there and seek opportunities as well as connecting. While you're out there networking with others, you're connecting, you're cultivating, and you're fostering relationships. And the other N is about next steps, where you're being intentional and you're going out there and you're going to go get it. You know, you're going to go accomplish that goal. And so I've been out here speaking to many youth, young adults. I've been speaking to women. I've sat on panels. I've appeared on Voxwave TV. I've been on that Anita Live show. I've also participated in a collaboration book. It's The Purpose Woman, which is a 365-day journal. It's a motivational book where each day you're inspired by a different author, which is amazing. I've been out here on various, doing different speaking engagements out here, inspiring and empowering, and I have several speaking engagements going. Excuse me, I want to be in Florida. I'm going in Florida for my vacation. For my vacation, that's what came out. That's where I want to be, lying on the beach. So that's happening in October. But rewind. So in September, I will be in Georgia for the Trailblazer Conference. And then when I come back, I'll be speaking to some young ladies who are powerful and amazing. Dance team at Main Attraction, Divas. I had the pleasure of speaking to them before they went off for competition, and they came back grand champions, so my heart was smiling warmly. I will be going back to talk to them as they embark on another competition, getting them pumped, inspired. And then a young man by the name of Delonte Kelly had asked me to come forth and be the keynote speaker in a room of those who are beginning to speak. So that's happening at the end of the month. So I have so many exciting things. It's just amazing. It's just amazing.
It is. You have definitely been busy, but that is the whole purpose. You have a purpose of what you're doing, and you are absolutely living that purpose. So what I want to do, though, is I want to talk a little bit about how we got to this point of living your truth and living your purpose. You have a phenomenal story about the beginning of who you are and where you came from and who you are today. So let's dive a little bit into that story about the beginning. It's incredible. I read it in your book, and I don't want to steal the thunder. I want you to tell the listeners more about who you are.
So, thank you for that. Yeah, I talk about in my book, what I write about is the fact that at the age of 5, my biological dad died of from a terrible construction accident where a one-ton pipe crushed him while building a niche hotel in Washington, D.C. And my mom, with a 5th grade education, had to raise myself and my brother on meager funds, Social Security, and it was tough. It was really tough. And she held it all together in terms of raising us up until the point where she got remarried and something happened. And I'm not a psychologist, I'm a psychiatrist, but I will say, being there with her, I noticed the change. And while she was going through a serious bout of manic depression as well as schizophrenia, it was tough on me in my senior year. My brother was incarcerated, and she would walk the floors all night, and I had to stay in my room with my door locked. It was a lonely senior year for me. I had to go to high school, accomplish my grades, and I was honor roll throughout high school because that was like my outlet. But it was a lonely time, and she threw bullets against my door at 3 a.m. in the door. 3 a.m. in the morning, and she threw the bullets against my locked door, and that's when my life changed forever. I left. And that's when the unhealthy relationships began, and I entered into 2 different domestic abuse situations. And it that's why I try to communicate in my book. Through it all, I made it, and so can you. And what you see right now in your situation is not a forever. It's temporary, and it's just about gaining your strength to make it through that journey. And it was tough. It was lonely, and it was tough.
Exactly, and I think that's the thing that really just stood out. And I was going through and reviewing your book, and like I said, we've met each other, and we haven't really had the opportunity to talk a lot about our personal experiences because we are definitely kindred spirits. We have both have been survivor of domestic abuse, which but to sit down and really have that conversation of where you were and then who we are today is so different. And there's so many women who are continually running around out here trying to survive every single day. And people constantly call us survivors. And I always tell people that is not what I want to hear because we were surviving when we were going through the process of being abused, but we are no longer survivors. We are absolutely heroes. We're sheroes. We are women who have decided that enough was enough. And talk to me and the listeners about when that moment for you was that you said, I can't do this anymore. I need to move forward because this isn't any good for me.
So that moment hit me when, with my first abuser, I had the aha moment when we were fighting in his front yard, and his family were witnessing the fight but didn't stop us. And he called me out my name. He spit in my face, and I talk about this because it wasn't just a regular spit. And spit in my face was never okay, but he did the back of the throat type of spit, like really bringing up the phlegm, and spit in my face, and I had a visceral reaction, and I punched him in his mouth, and he had braces on at the time, and one of his brackets came down off his front tooth. And I'm back to that time, and next thing I know, all I saw was his hand, his fist coming towards my face where he knocked me out, and all I saw was darkness. The next moment in time, all I heard and saw was an EMT standing over me, trying to get me to come back to reality, into life or whatever. And it was hard. And I was like, I cannot. When I got up off that ground, I said, I cannot do this anymore. And I left. Left the relationship physically. And I talked about this during my Empowerment Journey podcast today when I did a recording. I had to leave it emotionally and mentally too. And I share that with you because I entered into a second domestic abuse situation right after that one. And so...
Let me interrupt you just for a second. How old were you during the time that you went through the abusive relationship into the second?
I was a senior in high school. I was 17.
Oh.
I was 17, and it was towards the time of graduation. And you can identify with what I'm saying, that my first abuser was such a charmer. Like, oh, you don't have anyone taking you to the prom? Oh, my God, I can't believe it. You're so pretty and da-da-da-da-da. Let me get a limo for you. I'll pick you up. It was awesome. I fell for it. Now, I just didn't have anyone to pull my coattail. Now, I got male friends now, but during that time I was vulnerable. I didn't know, and I just wanted to be loved, and I didn't know what a representation of a relationship was, and I thought that this was a part of a relationship. The fighting, the fussing, the hitting. I thought that was part of it. I wasn't educated. So I entered into the second domestic abuse relationship, but that did not surface until after a year and a half of being in the relationship. That's when it came, and that's pretty darn scary. But as I think back to it, the second abuser definitely exhibited red flags. I just wasn't educated about those red flags. Right.
So. Yeah, and actually having the trauma of coming out of one and then thinking, okay, maybe I have found my king, and then you turn around a year later, like you say, you have a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You don't know who's in front of you at that point. I definitely understand and know that experience. So after going through this journey of domestic violence abuse with these two individuals, what made you decide the second time to walk away again and say enough?
What happened was I was working my good government job, right? And my supervisor noticed that I was not myself. And he called me in and said, "Are you okay?" It was a caring supervisor. And I began to it was like a river, tears came out. And I explained to him what was going on. And he told me, take the time for you to get yourself together. And I was introduced to the Employee Assistance Program at that time. And once I began to talk to someone at the Employee Assistance Program, they began to educate me. And then they also began to share with me, this is not healthy. And then I start opening up to one of my close cousins. She didn't even know. And I lived in the same house with her. She didn't even know, during my first abuse. And then my second abuse, I lived with my girlfriend. She didn't know until I told her. So I was able to hide it so well. So that's what made me say, I want more for my life. I knew that eventually I wanted my career to continue to progress in the federal government. I knew that I wanted a healthy relationship, and I increased my faith by going to church more, and it came back to me harnessing my own self-esteem and confidence, and not looking to another person to give that to me.
Exactly. All right, before we move on, I just want to say, for those who are listening, you are listening to Vigilant Broadcasting live on the Author's Corner. I am author Kimberly McLemore. I'm the host. I have a very special guest that's talking with us tonight, author Jennifer Bryant, and she is the author of Overcoming Personal Challenges to Achieve Professional Success. If you are listening or you've dialed in and you have a question, you will have, now is the time to have that couple of minutes, and maybe we can get one or two questions in, because I really want Jennifer to be able to talk about a couple of pieces within the book itself. So do we have any callers out there that have any questions before we move on? Okay, I'm getting the silence, so I don't think we do. If we do have one, please let me know and let them break on in, and then we can answer a question. But what I would like to talk about now is the book. This book is not about overcoming your personal challenges to achieve professional success. It's actually a 30-day journal. So let's dive into that a little bit, Jennifer.
Absolutely. So the book, the way that it's laid out is intentional. And what I mean by that, I start off with talking about my story. Through it all, I made it, and so can you. So others can identify with, okay, she definitely faced some challenges and the real pain of those challenges. I talk about trusting the process. That is the beginning of it all. Before you can embark on changing yourself and working on yourself, you got to get in a headspace to trust the process. So day one, I say to you, uncertainty and fear causes you to stay at a status quo mindset rather than trusting the process to try new opportunities. As part of your growth process, try to learn and relax. Let go of your control. Allow yourself to experience mystery and wonderment. Let yourself be bewildered by the unknown. Is there anything that is holding you back and no longer serving you that you want to release? So my book goes through the process that I had to go through in terms of making the investment in myself, giving myself permission to say that it's okay to move on. And so through each of these pages, each of the 30 days, every day I'm saying, here's some inspiration for you. Here's something to think about to help you to ignite your thoughts throughout the day. I have, focus on trust the process. Visualize your path. You got to visualize it. You got to gain self-awareness. You got to enhance your well-being. You also got to have a winner mentality. Know that you're not defeated. Forgive yourself and figure out, how can I move on? I talk about how you could turn negative situations into fuel to win. On day 9, winner mentality. How you got to look at your blessings and never give up. You got to ignite your fire and show the world your magic. And I ask, if you were the bravest version of yourself today, what would you be doing? And
Absolutely.
What's most important, Kimberly, is setting boundaries. I talked about earlier or previously about ending up in unhealthy relationships.
Yeah.
I was too busy focused on people pleasing, too busy focused on please love me, because I'm dealing with trying to take care of my mom over here. My brother's incarcerated. Just love me. I just want somebody to be there for me. So I talk about on day 17 setting boundaries. Without healthy boundaries, relationships will not function well. The key to setting boundaries is first figuring out what one wants from their personal professional relationship. Set boundaries based on these desires and then remain clear with oneself and with other people about these boundaries. Healthy boundaries can be a difference between a healthy, happy relationship and a toxic, dysfunctional relationship. It is important to let someone know when something doesn't work for you in an assertive manner by saying, that doesn't work for me. And to explicitly state what is important to you. So, I have the book. The book is filled with exercises on effective communication, active listening. Resiliency is important. None of us would be able to make it over and be that warrior that we are today if we did not have resiliency built in our system.
Exactly.
So,
and the thing,
yes.
and the thing I love about the book is that even though a lot of what you've gone through has been very tragic, the book is not just focused for people who've gone through tragedy. The book is absolutely focused for people on the professional side, because we all go through something. And even if you're stuck in this particular position in the professional side that this isn't working for you, this gives you an opportunity to go back and re-relate who you are. Like you said in the beginning, trusting the process, so that you can see and identify within yourself what isn't working and how can I move forward to better myself. So I think this journal and this book is absolutely touching and it's amazing. But, after I read and reviewed your story, I actually had to put it down. I couldn't read it anymore. And I think a big part of it is because when you identify with everything a little bit deeper, it makes it much harder. But the blessing out of it is that you are here to talk about it and share your information so that no other woman has to go through what you have gone through.
And that's interesting you say that. Thank you. And what's interesting about this, I know that we have to wrap it up, is that I've had some family and friends who said the same thing, that they had to put the book down because it hurt them so badly to know that I had gone through that. But I am on the other side of this. I am on the other side. So it's my mission to inspire and empower.
Exactly, and you're doing it, and you keep doing it. But before I let you go, Jennifer, I want to thank you so much for being on here with me this evening. Please let everybody know how they can contact you, because there are so many other people who absolutely need to hear your story personally and professionally.
Absolutely. They can contact me through my website, reachingwithinempowerment.com. And they can also contact me at Jennifer@reachingwithinempowerment.com.
All right. Again, thank you so much. I'm glad I had an opportunity to bring you back on the show. We'll have to do it again because there's a whole lot more we could be talking about. So.
Oh, my God. We could have been talking forever.
Exactly. So enjoy the rest of your evening. For everyone else, I want to thank you all for listening to Jennifer Bryant. She is the author of Overcoming Personal Challenges to Achieve Professional Success. She said some amazing things this evening. If you need to reach out to her, she's just giving you your information. The book you can find, I'm sure, on Amazon as well. Again, it's called The 30-Day Journal, Overcoming Personal Challenges to Achieve Professional Success by Jennifer J. Bryant. Thank you again. We're going to go to a commercial break, and then we're going to bring on our next two guests. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Author's Corner with your host, author Kimberly McLemore.
All right, hello listeners, and welcome back to the Author's Corner. I am your host, author Kimberly McLemore, and now let me introduce to you our next special guest authors. I have Lorna Moore and Louise Newton-Kerr, authors of Unspoken Secrets and Quiet Whispers. Lorna Moore is born in Clearwater, Florida. She was raised in Tarpon Springs, Florida. She attended Pinellas County Schools, and she's a graduate of St. Petersburg College. She is co-author of two books, Unspoken Secrets and Quiet Whispers, and Unspoken Secrets and Quiet Whispers, Remembered, Revealed. She's mother of 3 young adult children. She's active in her church, and she enjoys spending time with their family. Mr. Louise Newton-Kerr was born in Dawson, Georgia. Her family relocated to Largo, Florida. When she was young, she has 2 adult daughters and 3 grandchildren. She's co-author as well of 2 books, Unspoken Secrets and Quiet Whispers, and Unspoken Secrets and Quiet Whispers, Remembered, Revealed. which are inspired by true events from her life. She also writes poetry, and she loves gardening. So let's welcome these two amazing young ladies to the platform. Hello, Lorna and Louise. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you,
All right.
Kimberly, for having us. Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, okay, now I have two of you. So what I'm going to do is we're going through some of the questions. We'll kind of do one at a time if you guys can, so we can both hear you clearly. But what I would like to do is start with you, Miss Lorna. Why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners just a little bit more about who you are and what you got going on.
Yes. My name is Lorna Moore, and I am the oldest daughter of Louise Newton-Kerr. And my mom and I, we wrote both of our books, which is a historical fiction, but it's based off of true events from my mother's life.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, this is amazing. Miss Louise, do you have anything you would like to add?
Oh, not too much. I let my daughter do most of the talking.
Well, it is a pleasure.
I let her do the most of the talking now, but I'm here too.
That's
If she asks me some questions, I will
okay.
fill her in. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. But it's a pleasure to have both of you on tonight to talk about your book. I'm really excited to hear all about this book. So you talked about in the beginning that your book is based off of true events of your mother. So why don't you start diving into some of the things that are in the book that you want us to know about these events?
Yeah. Well, most the first thing that I want to know was about my mom, because once I was a child, I was hearing things that how she died, and when I got grown, things come to be different. So we wrote the book, and did genealogy, and I found out everything that what happened. And that's why we wrote the book. It was, and I would like something else to put it in there, but and we had to get on with this book. I want to get on with the book, yes.
Right. So in this particular book, Ms. Lorna, can you explain a little bit about what is in this particular, because you guys actually have two. So I'm assuming the second book is based on continual information about what has gone on and the information of the quiet whispers and the unspoken secrets of the past. Right. So talk to us a little bit about what is in the first book.
In the first book, we start from the beginning. It's kind of like we start from our ancestors back in the 1800s, and then we worked our way up until my mother, was born and her siblings in Dawson. Now, names and places have been changed, but it chronicles, off of true events of her story. Right. So it just tells about their life of sharecropping, living on the farm of the white landowner, and how they had to, depend on sharecropping to survive. And so we went into my grandfather and his relationship. He was married to his wife, and that's my mother's and her siblings' mother. But there was a mistress that comes into the picture, and the mistress is jealous of their relationship to the point that she loses her life from this jealousy.
Wow.
So that is what we portrayed in the first book. So the second book is a sequel to the first book. It's a reflection. So we start from when I had my children, and the youngest son does the research, goes on Ancestry, and looks up information, and then we take a trip, to Georgia. We visit several courthouses, there, and pull the death certificate of my grandmother, and find that she didn't die in the way that my mother and her siblings were told. So that is told in the book. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask, how many years did it take for you to gather the information about your mother in order to put this first book together before you even decided to go into the second book, the sequel?
It didn't take long at all. I would just say about 6 months to get everything.
Wow.
6 months. Yeah. And it almost as though it was supposed to happen in the way it did.
Right.
Because I asked my son, could he go on Ancestry.com and go and look up information, about my grandmother. And from that point, when he started that, he couldn't put it down. He was pulling records and looking on different sites, of the genealogy information. And it was like, we have to go to Georgia. We have to go here, and we have to pull these records. So it's almost like it had to happen until we got to the point of getting that record of my grandmother's death certificate. And it was a eye-opener for my mother, because she, here she was told that her mother died in childbirth. And I remember as a little girl, my mother telling me that, and my sister. So in my mind, I had this picture, that she just had a baby and she was hanging out clothes and she just died. But when the death certificate was pulled, it was different. She wasn't pregnant at the time of her death.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that, is very interesting about your story, first of all, not many people can go that far back and really even know what their history is, especially us black people. So much history has been taken away from us, and because we were brought here, so we have lost the understanding of who is who and what is what. So to be able to have that knowledge, I applaud you all for even digging in that deep and trying to understand what really happened to your mother's mother, because that is very significant. So, Miss Louise, is there anything particular that you wanted to share from the story, any stories out of the book that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, most chapter is very interesting to me, because it got something in it. Every chapter, I wish I could talk about every chapter in the book, because it got a meaning to me. I'm glad that we did this book. I'm glad that we did this book, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're an opportunity here to leave a legacy for your family, so that they truly do understand, the story about your family. And that's very important, because like I said earlier, that we don't always have that knowledge and to trace back and know who our family is. We try to guess. A lot of us don't really know who we are, what we are, where we came from, because of the significance of slavery and the whole 9 yards. So it's amazing to have the opportunity to hear a story like yours. So, Lorna, I'm sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
And I found out about my granddad's family and everybody, and they was white, and it was like you said, go back to this family, white family in the blood, and I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Right.
But we found it out, yes.
Wow.
We found out that, yes.
Yeah, because in the first book, in chapter 27, we write about St. Louis. He finds his father's trunk. His father has since passed, but he goes into this trunk and he finds, little items that belong to his father, and he finds that his the great-grandfather had dealt in the slave trade. So that is that history there, that connection. And he finds a poem that my mother, she actually wrote, but she, placed it in the story. If you like, I can read it to you. And
please do.
And it says here that the wicked is prideful of his countenance and all, never thinking that nothing can make them fall. Our Heavenly Father up above, He controls this whole world. God made it before the beginning of time. He's still in control, while man have a warped mind. Man say that the world was made by a bang. In 6 days the Lord made the heaven and earth. Don't care what man thinks, it can't be deterred. So that's one of my mom's, her favorite poems that,
And that poem is so fitting for today as well.
Yes.
Very fitting for today, but the world that we live in. So I appreciate and thank you so much for reading that. And Mama Louise, you did a beautiful job with that poem, but I don't think you ever thought that it would get into a book one day, did you?
No, I didn't. I wrote it while we were writing the book. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing that, when the Spirit moves you, it moves you. And, like you were saying earlier, Lorna, that it was like it was meant to be, that you guys had this opportunity to sit down, figure out what was really going on, and learn about your history. And then here you are making new history, because now everybody else, millions of other people have the opportunity, and thousands of other people have the opportunity to learn about your family and all the things that you've gone through as a young child, Miss Louise. And, so I just think it's very awesome that you guys are able to work together to even do that, because I'm sure that there had to be some moments that were very hard, Miss Louise, when you were going through the process of writing this book.
Yes, it was. It was.
It was
sometimes
emotional.
It was sad, but we had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We had to write it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And how has this book affected the rest of your family?
Well, my daughter in particular, she, kind of shocking to her, and the most of the family, they bought the book, but not too much they would talk about, because some in that book, about child being born, and stuff like that, and about their sister, and didn't know that they were half sisters, and that's shocking. It is shocking. Yes.
Right. I could imagine. Then having to try to explain all these details, but it's hard to explain it even when you're just learning a lot of it yourself. So,
right.
But I think it's a blessing that you have the information so that you can continue to learn, continue to grow within each other, and realize that no matter how hard it was to go through that process of learning, you have the capability of now, your whole family that has the capability of making something new, new history, new lives of everything. No matter where you came from, you're always continuing to move forward, and that's what the most important part is, I believe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it generated a lot of discussion within the family, both positive and negative, but still we come together in agreement, of what happened. So, so it's just, it did generate that discussion, and I want to believe that it created a more bond amongst our family members.
Right, exactly. And even, I think even, it's not so much even, I don't know about the bond part, but I think a lot of times as families we are very scared to really know what the truth is, because, like I said, we have been so disjointed for many, many years trying to understand just who we are. And your mother was saying earlier that she didn't know she had white, that there was white people that were a part of the family. We all, I think, eventually will learn these things, but it's just taking the time to understand that we are who we are, but it doesn't matter who we are as long as we know where we are. It's not about where we came from; it's where we're going to, and what's important to continue that legacy. So before we go on, I'd also like to take a quick break and let people know that if you are just tuning in, you are on Vigilant Broadcasting Live. Here on the Author's Corner, I am author Kimberly McLemore. I'm the host. I have two amazing young ladies with me this evening as my special guests, Lorna Moore and Louise Newton-Kerr. They are the authors of Unspoken Secrets and Quiet Whispers. This is the book we are talking about tonight. And so if there's anyone who is out there who is dialed in this evening, is listening, and has a question, here is an opportunity for you to go ahead and voice your question so that my guests can answer that. If you don't, we will continue to move forward. So as we're talking, if we get any interruptions, we'll know why, because we'll have somebody who wants to chime in. But what I would like to do is continue to move forward with you guys discussing your book. So, Lorna, tell us a little bit more about some significant things that's in the book that you would like to share.
Yes. What we shared in the book is mostly the life in Georgia, and how St. Louis, what he did to support his family. He sharecropped, but he did have his side business as well, moonshining. Yeah, so he did that to, generate the extra funds, and he was always provided transportation. When others didn't have that transportation, he always had it because he was working for the landowners in that moonshine business. And so it came to a point that in the story he had to move his family from Georgia because of the feds, coming down on him because of it. Even though he was generating the funds, for the landowners, he had to move his family from Georgia. So it plus he had to deal with the death of his wife, and Mary in the story, and he connects with Beatrice. So here Beatrice has come into the family and, put herself there in the family with her children, along with St. Louis and Mary's children. And then once they move, the people in Florida does not know of Mary. So now Mary's name has dissipated in a way because they don't know about her being the mother of one set of children. So we tell about that in the first book as they move to Florida to start a new life. So now Beatrice and St. Louis, people think that they are the mother and father of all the children, and there's no mention of Mary. And then the second book, we go into when my children grows up, and that's when we start that research. When my younger son, gets a little older, and we come into that revelation of, here is Mary was the mother of the first set of children, and she was the mother, but she died in Georgia. So it just gives a voice to Mary. So by writing this book, we're giving a voice to Mary. Yeah.
And Lorna, how many children were there in total between the two families?
And the two families was 12.
Okay, and how many of those children again were married?
10. 10 and all.
10, sorry.
10. Wow. Wow. Yeah, so, and obviously, of course, we know during those time frames, big families were very well known to be. I know my father, and I think about the big families, my father comes from a family of 19, so it was like, it was no big deal to have that many kids in one family. Nobody thinks twice about it, right?
Not a dull moment, that's for sure. Yeah.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So, I just find it, though, very interesting how suddenly they had forgotten Mary. I'm just trying to wrap that around my head, that I understand that her death was a mystery, but to think that this person didn't exist, and then all of a sudden you have this man with all these children, I just trying to understand, if you can share, what was the purpose of hiding all of this?
What was the purpose? Because sadly, St. Louis and Beatrice in the story, they were the cause of Mary's death. So when you had people saying it, you had several relatives voicing this over the years. They didn't enforce it as much, but they whispered it, and they said, Beatrice murdered Mary, and that was always repeated. So that, because family member was involved in it, I think that's why it wasn't very vocalized.
Right.
And I would like to, I would like to say what a child cover up, to cover up a childbirth and keep it a secret.
Right.
To keep that secret, and they kept it secret. That's why they got Mary out the picture.
Right.
And a child.
I'm sorry.
And the child she kept it a secret too when she made a obituary. When the family died, she keeps my mom out the picture. They kept her out the picture. No, she is nowhere mentioned, nowhere. Obituary nowhere.
Yeah.
So that was the problem. They tried to keep it secret.
Right. And then the thing that amazes me during that time frame as well, that nobody seemed to care about what happened to families of color, right? It wasn't like somebody just jumped up and said, oh, this woman is missing. They didn't care. It was just another person gone. So that's part of the reason why people didn't question it. And then, as you said, is they kept throwing it underneath the rug and nobody paid attention to it. And eventually people just started to believe that this was the truth, that she just passed away and there was nothing else to be said about it. But it's very unfortunate that you would have those type of unspoken secrets and quiet whispers within our families. But we all know that no family is perfect, and we all realize that things do happen. But I applaud you two ladies for taking the time, like I said, to understand what happened. And I know, Miss Louise, that this, like I said, has broken your heart probably many of times, but at least you know.
Right. She does, and that's she'll always have that, but she knows, and other family members also know, that this is not what actually happened. There's more to the story. We weren't there, but it's not what was told. So my grandmother's now, she was buried at the New Hope Cemetery in Dawson, Georgia. It has grown up as when we visit it there. It has grown up. So I'm hoping that that her she's there, and other graves are there, and it's a graveyard that is. I hope it's not forgotten that it is a graveyard. Yeah.
Right. Well, as long as you all are alive, and the children, and then the great-grandchildren in the future, that is their job, is to make sure that her memory is never lost. That is important.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. So, ladies, we are getting close to the end of the show. Could you please tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you and where they could purchase your book from?
Yes. Our books can be purchased on Amazon, and our website is Lorna and Louise.com, and that's LORNA and ANDLOUISE.com. So you can visit our website and you can, read our information on there, and our books are available on Amazon as well.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Lorna Moore. I appreciate you reaching out to me. This has been an honor. Miss Louise, how are you doing? Thank you again for coming on.
And thank you very much, too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And in this evening, ladies and gentlemen, as you heard, I have Miss Lorna Moore and Miss Louise Newton-Kerr. They are the authors of Unspoken Secrets and Quiet Whispers, and they also have the second book, which is a sequel to the first book. Let me go back and get the name of that again, which is we have Unspoken Secrets and Quiet Whispers and Unspoken Secrets and Quiet Whispers Remembered, Revealed. So pick up the books. The story is amazing and it's phenomenal. Sad, but it's something that we all need to think about in our lives and within our families, that there are hidden secrets and there are hidden whispers and people are talking, but we don't know what that may be. But here is an opportunity to learn about a family who has learned what has happened to their loved ones, and now their legacy will live forever. Again, I would like to thank you ladies for coming on. For everyone else,
thank you so much.
You're welcome. For everyone else, if you are interested in being a sponsor or a guest on the Author's Corner, you can send me a short bio, a book cover, and, of course, a professional picture to KimberlyMMcLemore@gmail.com. Also, I wanted to reveal that the new ebook, Are You Living or Existing? The Pros and Cons of Balancing Life, can be purchased on Amazon. So I have it in ebook as well as on hard copy. But the big part about this news is that this book will be available for $3.99 and for the rest of the year. So if you have not got your book, you still have the opportunity to do so. The other thing I would like to reveal this evening is that we have a Sip and Sign, Manhattan, New York. Here we come. So I have a new book signing engagement coming up. I am looking for 3 to 4 amazing authors who want to be featured at this book signing. We are going to New York, Manhattan, Central Park, you guys, where we'll be on September 28th at Fairfield Inn and Suites from 5 to 8 p.m. If you are interested, please reach out to myself or my co-producer who owns Goddess Media. Her name is Miss Kiana L. Williams. You may send her an email at Kiana, which is kiana.goddessmedia@gmail.com. Again, that's kiana.goddessmedia@gmail.com if you are interested in being a featured author for this amazing book signing coming up on September the 28th in New York. And so, again, in order to find us, if you would like to just reach out to me and you want to look at all my social media platforms, you can look at Kimberly M. McLemore on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also go to the Women's Small Business Initiative and look at the YouTube channel as well. But I'd like to thank you all for tuning in tonight to my show, to Vigilant Broadcasting. Please stop by and like our Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. A special shout-out to my favorite friend, Miss Ashley. She's also the co-owner of the Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP, Miss Ashley Little. Please look at our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Again, good night. Join me for next month for another amazing show. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Guests. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Periscope at Author Kimberly McLemore and at Talk Radio TV Network, LLP.